This has gotten out of hand as the Minnesota Wild have gotten a brutal update ahead of their series of big games coming up over this weekend, heading into next week, as we now know that it is time for Bill Guerin to make a move due to what we have just found out from this Minnesota Wild team. And Quinn Hughes is going to get the first real opportunity to show how he can take over and control a team. We're going to be breaking these down and what happened here, what came out today, and what Bill Guerin now officially needs to do, as the Wild are running out of options here in the short term to make this team get out of their rut. And with everything going on, this team struggling over the last couple of games, it's now time for the Wild to get the additions they need and start their continuous addition of players via trades. With what we've seen now, we have to. There is no other option. Now, before we do get into all of the news today, this video is brought to you by Calcium. When you download Calcium using the link below and use the partner code DIGESTNHL, you'll get a $20 bonus when you trade your first 100. Calcium is the largest prediction market in the US, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much everything. Whether you're in California, Texas, or Minnesota like the majority of Wild fans, Kalshi is live in all 50 states, and for sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. And with this Wild team still in a very good spot in this season, the Western Conference Finals winning chances are dropping, but with the trades we know are possible from Bill Guerin, I would put a sneaky yes on this, with the option that the Wild do win the Western Conference Finals and go to the Stanley Cup. And the Wild on the Central, that may seem ruled out, and at a 5%, you can think about what you can do there. But Kalshi is genuinely a smarter way to use your sports and news knowledge, and you can close position whenever you want. So be sure to go download Kalshi, use the link in the description, and use the partner code DIGESTNHL to get a $20 bonus. And thank you to Kalshi once again for sponsoring this video. But we had a brutal update drop earlier today, and Michael Russo said this. Significant update: Matt Boldy and Joel Eriksson Ek have been placed on the injury reserve. Hunter Haight and Nick Kubel have been recalled, means Boldy has to miss the next 4 games. Eriksson Ek, Bogosian, Brodin, and Boldy are all now on the IR. And one thing that was not listed here that I think is fair to assume is that Joel Eriksson Ek's IR stint will be retroactive to when he first started to miss some games. So don't believe he will need to miss the next 4 when his injury was a couple days ago at this point right now. But this is a major change to what things and how things are going for this Minnesota Wild team. And I mean, it's been no surprise that this team has struggled as of late. 3 losses in a row, an overtime win against Seattle, and before that, 2 losses with 1 win and another loss. This is the worst stretch we've seen them play this season. There's no doubt about that, I guess, really apart from the beginning of the year. But this is not the time we want to see this team start to do this. And before this, we've seen quite a few overtime losses, but that's fine. You're still getting a point. But with how tight the race is, not just between the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars, but in the Western Conference, with teams catching up, some kind of sneaky teams falling around, you really want to lock your position in early. And although it does seem like at this point right now, will be the Dallas Stars against the Minnesota Wild, that almost seemed like it was confirmed a month ago. There's still a lot of moving parts which can change this up. And the big thing about that is if this team does not continue to win, they will fall into a very, bad spot, and a spot we don't want to see this team. But you look at the offense right now, and you have Boldy there on this one. But considering this, and looking at kind of how it all plays out with no Boldy, it is a very, very thin lineup below that second line. I mean, the second line of Marcus Johansson, Ryan Hartman, and Vladimir Tarasenko, that's not a horrible line, but that is not a second line right now at this point in the NHL. Marcus Johansson playing great, Tarasenko playing good as well, but Hartman as a second line center, Nico Sturm and Ben Jones being your 2, 3, and 4 centers, really not where you want to. And even, with Matt Boldy in this lineup, still a very tough spot looking at how the things are going. And we've known Bill Guerin is set to make a move sooner rather than later, but right now is sooner. You need to make this move sooner. This is not an opportunity where you can go and let Matt Boldy go and sit for 4 games. because of how good he's been. Kaprizov can only do so much. Him, Danil Yurov, and Matt Zuccarello, a very good line there. But that is really, and if I'm the Minnesota Wild, I'm thinking that's really the only threat line that this team has right now, as well as the defensive pairing of Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber. But apart from that, the Minnesota Wild are really kind of getting, I don't want to say exposed here, but you get a real good look at how thin this lineup actually is. And I mean, looking at the schedule, how things have gone, there's a lot of teams here that you should have won against. A very embarrassing loss against the Jets. You should have won against New Jersey, even though, things are weird like that. Quinn Hughes has never won against his brothers. Things like that happen. But the Islanders, back-to-back against the Kings of San Jose, they are some sneaky good teams. But they need to be wins, especially for a Minnesota Wild team who are supposed to be that third-best team in the NHL. Third best in their conference as well, in their division. But these need to be games where you win. And I mean, looking at how the IR currently holds up, you have majority of your starters on this line. You have a full defensive pairing on your IR. You're taking out one full, what would likely be a second line defensive pairing, and you're taking out two of your players that are on your second line. That's a big loss, especially for the players they are. It could be a second-line center, it could be a second-line winger on another team that wouldn't have an impact that Eriksson Ek and Boldy do. But these are incredibly important players for the Minnesota Wild, and if they cannot go out here and get a win, even with them in the lineup, and now they are out for a little while, with Brodin being out for quite some time, Bogosian hopefully being back soon, they're going to find themselves in a very difficult position going forward, and it's not a position I think that anybody wants to. And I mean, just going back to the Winnipeg game here, in a game like this where you have near the bottom here, Quinn Hughes, Brock Faber, Damon Hunt, Kirill Kaprizov in the middle, less of an impact, and, the rest of your lineup here, a lot of the big names that you need to have good. But at the bottom, if you're seeing this with those guys out of the lineup, this is something that will put the Wild in a terrible spot when it does come back to these guys being back. So at this point right now, with how Bill Guerin has been speaking about a trade over the last couple of weeks, really a month since the Quinn Hughes trade, it's time now. There's no other time that you can afford to. You really can't wait because we're about 15 days away, a little bit more than that, from the NHL roster freeze for the Olympics, and you do not want to go into the Olympic break with a very tough month before that. You want to make sure you're going in hot, keeping some players ready to go throughout the Olympics, and get back before the actual trade deadline and be ready to roll again. So Bill Guerin needs to be proactive here over these coming days, and he needs to add a forward as soon as possible because, once again, pulling back up this lineup, it is not a sufficient lineup to continue winning if this team wants to and where we know this team is capable of. So, I've been speaking about it over the past couple of days that, a move should be coming soon. Bill Guerin should realize that the center depth is not enough at this point right now, and the way things are playing out, even with Hunter Haight and Nick Kubel here called up to this lineup, one thing to note as well, I forgot to mention earlier, is Carson Lambos was sent down. David Spacek is staying up. They have quite a few young names up here, but you need guys you can trust. And at this point right now, you're going to have to put a trust in a lot of young players if you do not go out and acquire somebody. And even at this point right now, although center may be good down the road, anybody at this point would help this team. So let me know what you think this team needs to do, because right now I'm a bit concerned going into these coming games in the coming days with how this team's performed as of late, but with the players they have out. Now, luckily enough for the Wild, they have players that can and will carry a team. Quinn Hughes, we're going to get a good opportunity to see how he can really control a team now with Brock Faber there as well. Kirill Kaprizov, and we're really going to have to see Danil Yurov step up in the absence of some of these big names, and there's no better time than the present. So let me know what you think this next move should be for Bill Guerin and when it should come. I'm calling as soon as possible, but let me know when you guys think. That is all I have for you in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.